I have a sneaking suspicion that we have been hacked as people and as societies. For a very long time, we've been told that big is best and that growth is good, and this is an indisputable fact. We've been really living in a century of the cult of big. It's the case with the economy. You can't mention the economy at all without mentioning growth in the same sentence. But I'm not an economist. I work with urbanism. I work with cities. I have my favorite streets tattooed on my body. I take my job very seriously. And the same applies to cities as well. The cult of big is at play here. Cities have to be bigger. They have to spread out. They have to sprawl as far as the eye can see. This is what makes a city good and great, or so we've been told for a very long time, many decades. Buildings have to be taller, they have to be shinier in our city, they have to be more spectacular, reaching for the sky, breaking world records. Are these monuments to human engineering, or perhaps just phallic symbols for the male-dominated industries that design them? You can decide for yourself. We'll talk about that at lunch. The roads and the motorways of our cities, they have to be longer, they have to go farther, and my God, they have to be wider. We have to widen the roads and the motorways, increase capacity. It's one of the saddest ironies of urban planning that the only thing we have learned from 100 years of traffic engineering is this: if you make more space for cars, more cars come. It's sad. If you think of all of the kabillions of dollars we've thrown at this for the past 100 years, despite this fact. Mega projects are all the rage, never finished on time, always obscenely over budget, and yet they make up 8% of the global GDP. We're fascinated, we're obsessed with mega projects. We, the people, the consumers, are told to spend more, go out and buy more stuff. If you do that, it'll be good for the economy, it'll be good for growth, or so we've been told for a very long time. Perhaps we've been hacked, but I believe that we have the original code within us. We've been Homo sapiens as a species for 200,000 years. That original code is right there. We were programmed very, very good. Go back. Very, very good. Am I doing this or are you? We've been programmed very, very good. We have the ability to be rational, intelligent, and logical if we want to be. Everybody in this room is probably going to agree which ice cream would be the more, the best all-round experience for us. We can go crazy with a crazy Monster ice cream on the left, but most of us know rationally that the one on the right is going to be the best experience time and time again. The same applies to food portions as well. We've lived together in cities for 7,000 years, and we're hard-coded to know what a good street should look like, what kind of street we want to transport ourselves down, what kind of street we want outside of our home. It's a part of our urban DNA as Homo sapiens in the urban landscape. We know intuitively and instinctively as a species that size doesn't matter. Luckily, somewhere there in the dark shadow of the cult of big, just behind the mountain of obsessive growth, there's a beautiful little place. And I like to call it the life-sized city. Things are different there. The idea for the life-sized city came to me from a very life-sized person, also a very pint-sized person. This is the Lulu, as she's known, the world's youngest urbanist. This is my daughter. A couple years ago, we're walking around our city. We were holding hands, and we were stopping at an intersection waiting to cross. And she was a bit quiet, looking around the city. And out of the blue, she just turned to me and looked up and said, "Daddy, when is my city going to fit me?" Right out of the blue. When is my city going to fit me? And I said, "Hey, don't worry. You'll grow. Look at your brother. He's big. Eat your vegetables. Everything will be fine." And she looked at me and she went, "Yeah, I know." She knew instinctively, but that didn't change the fact that she felt really small in her city, like I'm sure all children do. The life-size city is different. We can measure things in a different way. If we're going to measure growth in the life-size city, this is the kind of growth that is most important. Growth measured in millimeters and centimeters, and every little win on the growth chart is a fist pump and a high five. It's a victory. That's all children want to do, believe me. That's their whole focus is, ice cream and growing. That's all they want to do. In the life-size city, we don't need the failed sciences of traffic modeling and traffic engineering to try and figure out transport in a city. No, we can use rationality, basic design principles, and anthropology. We can, like I do all the time, map the desire lines of people moving through intersections on bicycles and pedestrians in order to look for new models for urban transport and urban planning on intersections and streets instead of just using the models that we've inherited from a previous century. Urban democracy is very important. Desire lines are democracy in motion and a democracy in movement. Every fraction of every minute of every day, the citizens of our cities are sending us silent messages. They're telling us and they're showing us with their desire lines where they want to go. And we should observe this and we should respect it and we should plan according to these mobility patterns that they are charting out for us. Urban democracy is a key element in the life-sized city. This is a great example from Montreal. There's this railway that dissects two densely populated neighborhoods in Montreal. The railway's been there for many, many years. It's owned by Canadian Pacific Railways. It's a big country. Their headquarters are 3,000 kilometers away. They don't give a damn what happens at this spot in Montreal. The people of the life-sized city insist on their A to B. They cut holes in the fences in order to get from their A to the B between the two neighborhoods. The railway company refuse all calls to put in level crossings. They run around like cat and mouse, covering up the holes in the fences, sometimes on the same day, really demonstratively. But the people of the life-sized city insist. They have a Facebook group telling each other where the new holes are today. This isn't young activists running across the train tracks going, hee. This is like just everybody in these neighborhoods, regular people of all ages. I've seen it. That's obviously me, so I've obviously been there. This is urban democracy in action. In a life-sized city, you don't need things like car sales as an economic indicator. I mean, how old-fashioned is this, that car sales are still pegged to economic growth? We live in societies where fewer people are even bothering to get a driving license. We talk of the demotorization of our cities and our societies, and still car sales are some weird way of showing us that we're growing. In the life-sized city, you measure different things. You measure things like your bicycle infrastructure network. You measure your pollution levels, try to get them down. You measure density and accessibility. You measure how families are now staying in cities, which is an awesome thing after they have kids, instead of fleeing to the suburbs like they did for decades. These are the important economic indicators. I live in Copenhagen, and in Copenhagen, 63% of the population ride a bicycle to work or study every day. This is a very life-sized city for me. I feel like I am the king of the urban landscape on many stretches in the city. 63% in one of the richest cities in the world, one of the richest countries on the planet. They do it simply because it's a fast A to B, much the same as here in Münster. You have to measure other things. You have to measure how much, for example, cyclists contribute to the urban landscape, to the economy, to city life. 32% of all Copenhageners ride a bicycle to go shopping at all the street-level shops and supermarkets. They contribute $2.34 billion a year to the economy. That is a force to be reckoned with. That is something worth encouraging and worth improving. You measure things like the bicycle-friendly cities of the world with an academic ranking. The bicycle is returning to our cities now. After an absence of 50, 60 years in most parts of the planet, cities need to know where they measure, how they measure up against other cities in the world and in their own region. We do this Copenhagenize index in order to give them that indication. This is the modern and progressive thing to do. This is modern and progressive cities that are becoming bicycle-friendly. They're ahead of the curve. They see that there's a different paradigm ahead. The bicycle is really the chariot of the life-size city. It's perfect for city design. Every city in the world, the bicycle just fits perfectly, hand in glove. Bicycles are constant. They're not like cars. There's lots of different shapes and sizes of bicycles, cargo bikes, bikes with trailers, logistics and whatnot. It's just a damn bicycle. It looks the same, and it looks the same in any city in the world. Cars are different. There's all these different shapes and sizes, and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the bigger they get, the more useless they are in a city. You hear quotes like this coming out of the life-size city. Like the mayor of Paris said. This is the guy, he was mayor for 12 years, Bertrand Delanoë. He stopped in 2014, but this is my favorite quote. The fact is that automobiles no longer have a place in the big cities of our time. This is the mayor of Paris, not the mayor of Münster or Copenhagen. This is the mayor of Paris. He knows that we're moving towards a different paradigm shift. He's not alone. There's a few other mayors and politicians who have said similar things. Bloomberg in New York has a similar quote. But you know what? This is the baseline. This is the point of departure for everything that we're doing now and everywhere that we're going with urban planning and rethinking the urban landscape. Change can happen in the life-size city quickly and effectively if you want to. If you talk about bicycles, there were no bicycles left in cities like Paris and Dublin and Seville and Budapest, Barcelona, Chicago, Buenos Aires, just 5 or 10 years ago. Now these cities are well on their way to modernizing and becoming bicycle-friendly. They're changing a lot of the questions. For the better part of 100 years, the only question we were asking of our traffic engineers was, hey man, how many cars can we fit down this street? How can we increase capacity, get more cars down this street? One question for almost a century. Modern and progressive cities are now asking, hey, how many people can we move down this street? Using all the forms of transport at our disposal, all these things that we've invented, maybe we could use them here. Urbanization is on the rise. We have, massive amounts of people moving to our cities. We have to plan for the next 100, 200 years, and we have to do it right. The model at the bottom here that I made on this graphic has 5 times the capacity for moving human beings across a city than the model at the top, the one that we just inherited from a last century without really questioning it. Change the question. You can still move stuff around the life-size city. I get this a lot. Oh, that's all very nice with your bicycle stuff, but we got logistics, right? It's like this big male-dominated logistics thing. If you think creatively, if you think, rationally, you see stuff that was right in front of you. I worked on a European project called Cycle Logistics, and we found out with our research that 51% of all the goods moved around a city can be moved by bike, regular bikes and cargo bikes. That's a lot of packages and goods going out to the citizens of our cities. This is an idea I have for the city of Copenhagen. Any city with a harbor or a river, really. You have a distribution center, a consolidation center at the, south of the city. All the big trucks go there and dump off their stuff instead of driving into our neighborhoods past our children, right? You have the last mile delivery by smaller vehicles, electric vehicles, that's fine. But then you have the harbor. You can have electric barges going up and down the harbor, dropping off goods at designated strategic depots along the harbor, and cargo bikes coming down to deliver the last mile service. Tens of millions of packages going out to the people of Europe on bicycles. It's possible. It's a simple idea. We talk of shrinking cities, declining cities, like it's a bad thing, like there's alarm bells should be ringing. You know what? Maybe these cities are just scaling back to something good, something manageable. They're rebooting, they're resetting, they're reinstalling the software, getting the malware off the system. Cities like Detroit, Trieste in Italy, or until a few years ago, Malmö in Sweden. Declining cities, shrinking cities, this is not a bad thing. This is an opportunity. It's an enviable opportunity to have. Urban renewal, urban infill, very important when we're redesigning our cities and making them more life-sized. It can be large scale, or it can be like this. This is my son Felix. We saw a hole in the wall across the street. We have 20 kilograms of Lego in our apartment. We realized our neighborhood didn't have a cinema anymore, so we made one. I don't know why we chose Jaws, but this is a splash of color on a November day. This is a dad and his kid, playing for an afternoon. But I want to show him that he can be an agent of change, that he can have an influence on the urban landscape as a citizen in his city. It's a simple way to do it, but I hope it's effective. It's all about the people in the life-size city. The people are the main priority, not the machines, nothing else, not the cult of big, the people. Everything else is secondary. Amazing people populate our cities. Like the Lulu. The Lulu is not a consumer. She's not a statistic. She's not a number. She's an amazing little human. Don't measure her. Don't calculate how much money we're going to make off of her in the course of her life, how much the cult of big is going to earn off of this little statistical person. No. You know what you do? You design the city around her as your baseline. You reduce the number of cars. You reduce pollution. You create more green spaces. You build bicycle infrastructure. Safe bicycle infrastructure so that she can ride her bike, because that is all this kid wants to do, apart from eating ice cream. But yeah. You design for her, for the Lulus of our world. You design for the citizens of the city, every single one of them. All of them apply here. It's time to hack it back. We've had 7,000 years of experience with cities. We have so many things that can be applied directly to our cities today. We have to go back to the future. We can seek out all of the life-sized pockets of goodness that exist in every city in the world right now. We can expand on them. We can grow some more. We, the people of the cities, urban democracy is the most powerful tool that we have. You know, these are our cities, and it's time for us to hack them back. Thank you.